guys. We're gonna be reading from the book. We're gonna be listening to the audiobook by Robert Greene called "The 32 Strategies of War," and it's gonna be my favorite chapter, which is the grand strategy. Absolutely powerful chapter. It teaches you how to think into the future, how to use what I call our superpowers, which our superpowers in this case is being able to think into the future and create and actually execute a detailed plan. All right. To other people, these it looks like you have superpower, but in reality, what makes you different from other people is the ability to use your rational mind. All right. So listen to this. If you guys want one-on-one coaching, go to the link below. If you guys want to donate to my camera, all right, because I'm buying a camera next week, click on the link below. If you guys want to purchase my seminar, click on the link below. I do have one-on-one coaching, so go check it out on the link below, right? So let's get started.
Of the known world. Interpretation. Alexander the Great's maneuvers bewildered his staff. They seemed to have no logic, no consistency. Only later could the Greeks look back and really see his magnificent achievement. The reason they could not understand him was that Alexander had invented a whole new way of thinking and acting in the world, the art of grand strategy. In grand strategy, you look beyond the moment, beyond your immediate battles and concerns. You concentrate instead on what you want to achieve down the line. Controlling the temptation to react to events as they happen, you determine each of your actions according to your ultimate goals. You think in terms not of individual battles, but of a campaign. Alexander owed his novel style of strategizing to his mother and to Aristotle. His mother had given him a sense of destiny and a goal, to rule the known world. From the age of 3, he could see in his mind's eye the role he would play when he was 30. From Aristotle, he learned the power of controlling his emotions, seeing things dispassionately, thinking ahead to the consequences of his actions. Trace the zigzags of Alexander's maneuvers, and you will see their grand strategic consistency. His quick actions against first Thebes, then Persia, worked psychically on his soldiers and on his critics. Nothing quiets an army faster than battle. Alexander's sudden crusade against the hated Persians was the perfect way to unite the Greeks. Once he was in Persia, though, speed was the wrong tactic. Had Alexander advanced, he would have found himself controlling too much land too quickly. Running it would have exhausted his resources, and in the ensuing power vacuum.
You see, sometimes in life is not about advancing. Sometimes in life is about advancing with control. You see, just because you could get something from somebody doesn't mean you should. So sometimes it could be a trap. So before you advance, first realize that am I able to handle this responsibility? You see, you gotta be able to give yourself time to adapt. Give yourself time to actually be whatever. Let's listen. I'm not gonna even let this shit.
Everywhere. Better to proceed slowly, to build on what was there, to win hearts and minds. Instead of wasting money on building a navy, better simply to make the Persian navy unusable. To pay for the kind of extended campaign that would bring long-term success, first seize the rich lands of Egypt. None of Alexander's actions were wasted. Those who saw his plans bear fruit in ways they themselves had been entirely unable to predict thought him a kind of god. And certainly his control over events deep in the future seemed more godlike than human. To become a grand strategist in life, you must follow the path of Alexander. First, clarify your life. Decipher your own personal riddle by determining what it is you are destined to achieve, the direction in which your skills and talents seem to push you. Visualize yourself fulfilling this destiny in glorious detail. As Aristotle...
Yo, that is so fucking true, man. Like, you have to visualize what you want in life in detail, in very specific ways. You see what I'm saying? Listen, keep listening.
Advised. Work to master your emotions and train yourself to think ahead. This action will advance me toward my goal. This one will lead me nowhere. Guided by these standards, you will be able to stay on course. Ignore the conventional wisdom about what you should or should not be doing. It may make sense for some, but that does not mean it bears any relation to your own goals and destiny. You need to be patient enough to plot several steps ahead, to wage a campaign instead of fighting.
That's important, man. You gotta learn how to plan several steps ahead. One, because then your enemies are not gonna be able to know what you're up to. So there's gonna be less sabotage and less obstacles. You see? And also, by planning steps ahead, it forces you to control your emotions. It forces you to actually think differently because a natural human tendency is not to think ahead, but to think in ways that promotes instant gratification. And when you develop this ability to think into the future, you will naturally have an advantage over people. It allows you to actually create plans that are more fluid, that are more flexible, that are more dynamic, and that are multidimensional. You see, as opposed to just creating plans out of reactions to events.
Battles. The path to your goal may be indirect. Your actions may be strange to other people, but so much the better. The less they understand you, the easier they are to deceive, manipulate, and seduce.
That's just what I said. My nigga Robert Greene, he knows his shit. Actually, I learned that from him. Look, man, a lot of the shit that I learned is from Robert Greene and from other resources, of course. But like, it's just like, look, I was listening to this shit high earlier today in the train, right? And when I listened to this chapter, my mind was just fucking intensely listening to this because it's just okay. Let's just keep listening.
Following this path, you will gain the calm, Olympian perspective that will separate you from other mortals, whether dreamers get nothing done, practical people who accomplish only small things. Keys to warfare.
Listen.
Military history shows that the key to grand strategy, the thing that separates it from simple garden variety strategy, is its particular quality of forethought. Grand strategists think and plan further into the future before taking action. Nor is their planning simply a matter of accumulating knowledge and information. It involves looking at the world with a dispassionate eye, thinking in terms of the campaign, planning indirect, subtle steps along the way, whose purpose may only gradually become visible to others. Not only does this kind of planning fool and disorient the enemy, for the strategist, it has the psychological effects of calm, a sense of perspective, flexibility to change in the moment while keeping the ultimate goal in mind. Emotions are easier to control. Vision is far-seeing and clear. Grand strategy is the apex of rationality. Grand strategy has four main principles, distilled here from case histories of the most successful practitioners of the art.
Listen.
The more you can incorporate these principles into your plans, the better the results. Focus on your greater goal, your destiny. The first step toward becoming a grand strategist, the step that will make everything else fall into place, is to begin with a clear, detailed, purposeful goal in mind.
Oh, thank you, Sunshine.
In reality, we all build
Thank you, Sunshine, for the $2. I appreciate it. I appreciate tips. Thank you.
Purposeful goal in mind, one rooted in reality. We often imagine that we generally operate by some kind of plan, that we have goals we are trying to reach. But we're usually fooling ourselves. What we have are not goals, but wishes. Our emotions infect us with hazy desire. We want fame, success, security, something large and abstract. This haziness unbalances our plans from the beginning and sets them on a chaotic course. What have distinguished all history's grand strategists and can distinguish you too are specific, detailed, focused goals. Contemplate them day in and day out and imagine how it will feel to reach them.
This is absolute. Look, listen to this, man. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is absolutely the most vital part in all of this. I'm gonna play it again. This is the part that when I listen to this, just my mind just gets laser focused onto what he's saying. It's like my ears just fucking perk up every time I listen to this part. Just listen to this.
Are specific and sets them on a chaos. This
Listen.
haziness unbalances our plans from the beginning and sets them on a chaotic course. What have distinguished all history's grand strategists and can distinguish you too are specific, detailed, focused goals.
Specific, detailed, focused goals.
Contemplate them day in and day out.
God damn it. Thank you, JT, for the tip. Another tip? Ooh, it's a good day today. Let's go. Okay, let's rewind this.
Detailed, focused goals. Contemplate them day in and day out and imagine how it will feel to reach them and what reaching them will look like. By a psychological law peculiar to humans, clearly visualizing them this way will turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Clear, long-term objectives give direction to all of your actions, large and small. Important decisions become easier to make. If some glittering prospect threatens to seduce you from your goal, you will know to resist it. You can tell when to sacrifice a pawn, even lose a battle, if it serves your eventual purpose.
Let me pause this. When you have a detailed goal, specific detailed goal, decision making becomes easier. You see, if you're someone who's undecisive, it's because you don't have a very detailed plan, a very detailed goal. You see, so when for example, let's say that my goal was to become a YouTuber, right? Whatever. When I used to work at a jail, overnight. When I worked at a jail, you know what my decision was when I started working at the jail? If I'm gonna work at a jail, I'm bringing fucking books. So it made sense to bring books with me when I would work at the night shift. You see, so it's kind of like whatever you have to do becomes clearer and easier to and clearer and more obvious when you have a detailed goal, because then you could just ask yourself, does this action lead me towards my goal? Decision making becomes so easy and you become more productive. What can I do right now that will help me achieve my goal faster? What, are you in jail? Or what, are you in fucking jail for 5 years? What could you do in jail that will help you achieve whatever the fuck goal you want to do? You know what I'm saying? In other words, when your goals are detailed, your decision making will be easier and your decisions will stick more because they're linked to a greater destiny. All right? Keep listening.
Your eyes are then lose a battle if it serves your eventual purpose. Your eyes are focused on winning the campaign and nothing else. Widen your perspective. Grand strategy is a function of vision, of seeing further in time and space than the enemy does. The process of foresight is unnatural. We can only ever live in the present, which is the ground for our consciousness, and our subjective experiences and desires narrow the scope of our vision.
Oh my goodness in heaven. I absolutely love that part. That part just like brings me chills. He says, let's listen to this. Okay, do you know that? Ah, fuck, my knee, my ankle. Look, for example, the reason why most people always for example, you know those people who always get mad at everything, who are always reacting to everything in their lives? That's because their vision is narrowed. They're not focusing on their greater vision. So as a result, they don't know which battles to lose. They don't know when to shut up and when to talk. They always consistently battling because they don't have a clearer, longer vision. If you know what you want in life and something bad happens, you can decide, does this help me towards my goal or not? And if it doesn't, you just let it go. You know, but when you don't know what you want, you will always react to the things that happen in your life. For example, just listen to this again. Listen to this. It's just insane.
The enemy does.
Listen.
The process of foresight is unnatural. We can only ever live in the present, which is the ground for our consciousness, and our subjective experiences and desires narrow the scope of our vision.
Sometimes your desire, what you want in life, your impatience will narrow your vision. Sure, you may have failed at achieving your goal, but because you're so impatient, you make you sort of get desperate and do stupid shit. For example, you want the guy so badly that you sort of accept the unacceptable. You know, you want the guy so badly, you want a relationship right now so badly that when somebody dumps you, you feel bad. But when you know that you have your whole life ahead of you, that this is just a little moment in life, and when you know that in due time someone will come, somebody rejects you, but by having your vision more deeper into the future rather than having your vision on what's on the little shit that's happening to you right now that really will not matter in 10 years in the future, it allows you to deal with loss and rejection with a clear mind in a healthier way. Listen to this again.
and can only
Listen, it's your desires that narrow the scope of your vision. Thank you, Liz Lezelle. Thank you for the $5. What the fuck is going on today? I'm gonna keep reading to you guys.
does. The process of foresight is unnatural. We can only ever live in the
That's why I
present.
say, listen. That's why I say, hey, you gotta have high intention, low attachment. High intention, low attachment. Because if you don't have low attachment, your vision will be narrowed, and as a result, when bad things happen, you're gonna overreact because you're not gonna be able to see that in the scope of your whole life, this doesn't matter.
Which is the ground for our consciousness, and our subjective experiences and desires narrow the scope of our vision. They are like a prison we inhabit. Your task as a grand strategist is to force yourself to widen your view, to take in more of the world around you, to see things for what they are and for how they may play out in the future, not for how you wish them to be.
That's just fucking crazy. Isn't that insane? Like sometimes you just want things to happen so badly that you just prepare for the best and not prepare for the worst. It's just fucking like I listen to this and I just cannot stop listening to this chapter. All right, keep listening. This I'm gonna replay it again because it's fucking crazy. Please listen to this.
For us unnatural, than the enemy does. The process of foresight is unnatural. We can only ever live in the present, which is the ground for our consciousness, and our subjective experiences and desires narrow the scope of our vision. They are like a prison we inhabit. Your task as a grand strategist is to force yourself to widen your view, to take in more of the world around you, to see things for what they are and for how they may play out in the future, not for how you wish them to be. You can take a step in this direction by always trying to look at the world through the eyes of other people, including most definitely your enemy, before engaging in war. Your own cultural preconceptions are a major hindrance to seeing the world objectively. Looking through other people's eyes is not a question of political correctness or of some soft, hazy sensitivity. It makes your strategies more effective. Grand strategists keep sensitive antennae attuned to the politics of any situation. Politics is the art of promoting and protecting your own interests. Your behavior in the world always has political consequences, in that the people around you will analyze it in terms of whether it helps or harms them. To win the battle at the cost of alienating potential allies or creating intractable enemies is never wise. Sever the roots. In a society dominated by appearances, the real source of a problem is sometimes hard to grasp. To work out a grand strategy against an enemy, you have to know what motivates him or is the source of his power. Too many wars and battles drag on because neither side knows how to strike at the other's roots. As a grand strategist, you must expand your vision not only far and wide, but under. Think hard, dig deep. Do not take appearances for reality. Uncover the roots of the trouble, and you can strategize to sever them, ending the war or problem with finality. A part of grand strategy related to severing the roots is seeing dangers as they start to sprout, then cutting them down before they get too big to handle. grand strategist knows the value of preemptive action. Take the indirect route to your goal. The greatest danger you face in strategy is losing the initiative and finding yourself constantly reacting to what the other side does. The solution, of course, is to plan ahead, but also to plan subtly, to take the indirect route. Preventing your opponent from seeing the purpose of your actions gives you an enormous advantage. So make your first move merely a setup, designed to extract a response from your opponent that opens him up to what comes next. Hit him directly, and he reacts, taking a defensive pose that may allow him to parry your next blow. But if he can't see the point of your strike, or if it misleads him as to where the next one will come from, he is defenseless and blind. The key is to maintain control of your emotions and plot your moves in advance, seeing the entire chessboard. In working on the level not of the...
This is important because, yo, I noticed that every time I get frustrated, it's because I'm focusing on the things that are happening right now without having a connection to my future. In other words, let's say that a girl rejects me, right? She's like, fuck you, bitch. You think it's beautiful, but I don't like you. Okay, whatever, right? Let's say she rejects me, right? If I'm just focusing on what she's telling me right now, I'm gonna think that, oh, fuck, I want a girl now, right? But if I keep my vision wide and I realize that she may reject me, but that doesn't mean that that's gonna be the last girl I ever get. That it's inevitable that I'm gonna meet more women. By connecting myself to the future, it allows me to take rejection better. So I'm like, oh, she rejected me, that's fine, because there's gonna be another girl. There's gonna be another girl. Allows me to relax, but the reason why I relax is because I'm able to think outside of this moment. I may notice that things may be bad, but because I know that there's a future that's inevitable, it actually brings a smile to my face. I'm like, okay, cool. I know this is just temporary. And so I smile at it. And so I remain at an emotional equilibrium. But if I don't focus on my future, if I don't have that vision of the inevitable, when a girl rejects me, it's going to sting harder. And you got to learn to think about that and how to apply it in your life in whatever area you have, because everyone is distinctive and different. But whatever problem you have, if you're noticing that you get stressed out easily, expand your vision. Have more of a purpose in your life. But let's just keep listening.
But of the campaign, your first step is crucial. It should usually be deceptively soft and indirect, making it harder to read. The Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor during World War II was a devastating surprise, but as the first move of a campaign, it was a disaster. The Japanese showed their hand too quickly, rallying American public opinion to an intense level of anger. They ensured that the Americans would prosecute the war to the bitter end. And it was the Americans who had the greater military resources. Always pay attention to the first step of the campaign. It sets the tempo, determines the enemy's mindset, and launches you in a direction that had better be the right one. Reversal. Grand strategy involves two dangers that you must consider and combat. First, the successes it brings you in your first campaigns may have the same effect on you that easy victory on the battlefield gives a general. Drunk on triumph, you may lose the sense of realism and proportion on which your future moves depend. Even such supreme grand strategists as Julius Caesar and Napoleon eventually fell victim to this dynamic. Losing their sense of reality, they began to believe that their instincts were infallible. The greater the victory, the greater the danger. As you get older, as you move to your next campaign, you must retrench, strain doubly hard to rein in your emotions and maintain a sense of realism. Second, the detachment necessary to grand strategy can bring you to a point where you find it hard to act. Understanding the world too well.
Hey Jay, I know Jay, I like this idea, right? I'm reading the comment. Yeah, like I was thinking about this today. I was like, because when I was listening to the book, and when I listened to the book, sometimes I pause and just think, right? And I'm like, man, well, wouldn't it be dope if I just like listen to the book on live and just give people my opinion as I'm listening to it? Let me make that video. Let me make the, let me make that video. Yeah, that's how it came out. I'm gonna keep making these videos, yo. All right, all right. Let me listen.
And become as indecisive as Hamlet. Without the desire to fight, without a capacity for the violence war churns up, we cannot deal with danger. "13. Know your enemy. The intelligence strategy."
Okay, so that's one chapter, right? Actually, let me show you guys the what you call it let me see. Let me see if I can find this. Oh fuck! I hope somebody made this. One second. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let's go to the top.
Know how to control and nasty. In politics, business, even the arts, we face opponents who will do almost anything to gain an edge. More troubling and complex, however, are the battles we face with those who are supposedly on our side. There are those who outwardly play the team game, who act very friendly and agreeable, but who sabotage us behind the scenes, use the group to promote their own agenda. Others, more difficult to spot, play subtle games of passive aggression, offering help that never comes, instilling guilt as a secret weapon. On the surface, everything seems peaceful enough, but just below it, it is every man and woman for him or herself. This dynamic infecting even families and relationships. The culture may deny this reality and promote a gentler picture, but we know it and feel it in our battle scars. It is not that we and our colleagues are ignoble creatures who fail to live up to ideals of peace and selflessness, but that we cannot help the way we are. We have aggressive impulses that are impossible to ignore or repress. In the past, individuals could expect a group, the state, an extended family, a company, to take care of them. But this is no longer the case, and in this uncaring world, we have to think first and foremost of ourselves and our interests. What we need are not impossible and inhuman ideals of peace and cooperation to live up to, and the confusion that brings us, but rather practical knowledge on how to deal with conflict and the daily battles we face. And this knowledge is not about how to be more forceful in getting what we want, or defending ourselves, but rather how to be more rational and strategic when it comes to conflict.
You know what it means to be rational and strategic? It means not getting fucking emotional. You see? So there's pretty much strategies of wars, learning how to overcome your emotions. If you're somebody that gets emotional, that cannot control your emotions, that has to keep it real all the time, I like to keep it real. I speak my mind. If you're the kind of person, that means you made a lot of stupid mistakes. And you need to read this fucking book, all right? Let's just keep listening.
Channeling our aggressive impulses instead of denying or repressing them. If there is an ideal to aim for, it should be that of the strategic warrior, the man or woman who manages difficult situations and people through deft and intelligent maneuver.
And it's not about being unemotional. It's more about being detached. You see, being detached from the outcome. All right, because unemotional means you have you're fucking apathetic and shit. Like you gotta care about stuff. But it's more about being able to let go properly without letting go and shit. All right.
Our successes and failures in life can be traced to how well or how badly we deal with the inevitable conflicts that confront us in society. The common ways that people deal with them, trying to avoid all conflict, getting emotional and lashing out, turning sly and manipulative, are all counterproductive in the long run. because they are not under conscious and rational control, and often make the situation worse. Strategic warriors operate much differently. They think ahead toward their long-term goals, decide which fights to avoid and which are inevitable, know how to control and channel their emotions. When forced to fight, they do so with indirection and subtle maneuver, making their manipulations hard to trace. In this way, they can maintain the peaceful exterior so cherished in these political times. This ideal of fighting rationally comes to us from organized warfare, where the art of strategy was invented and refined. In the beginning, war was not at all strategic. Battles between tribes were fought in a brutal manner, a kind of ritual of violence in which individuals could display their heroism. But as tribes expanded and evolved into states, it became all too apparent that war had too many hidden costs, that waging it blindly often led to exhaustion and self-destruction, even for the victor. Somehow, wars had to be fought more rationally. The word strategy comes from the ancient Greek word strategos, meaning literally the leader of the army. Strategy in this sense was the art of generalship, of commanding the entire war effort, deciding what formations to deploy, what terrain to fight on, what maneuvers to use to gain an edge. And as this knowledge progressed, military leaders discovered that the more they thought and planned ahead, the more possibilities they had for success. Novel strategies could allow them to defeat much larger armies, as Alexander the Great did in his victories over the Persians. In facing savvy opponents who were also using strategy, there developed an upward pressure. To gain an advantage, a general had to be even more strategic, more indirect and clever than the other side. Over time, the arts of generalship became steadily more sophisticated as more strategies were invented. Although the word strategy itself is Greek in origin, the concept appears in all cultures and all periods. Solid principles on how to deal with the inevitable accidents of war, how to craft the ultimate plan, how to best organize the army, all of this can be found in war manuals from ancient China to modern Europe. As a whole, these principles and strategies indicate a kind of universal military wisdom, a set of adaptable patterns that can increase the chances for victory. Perhaps the greatest strategist of them all was Sun Tzu, author of the ancient Chinese classic, The Art of War. In his book, written probably in the 4th century BC, can be found traces of almost all the strategic patterns and principles later developed over the course of centuries. But what connects them? In fact, what constitutes the art of war itself, in Sun Tzu's eyes, is the ideal of winning without bloodshed. By playing on the psychological weaknesses of the opponent, by maneuvering him into precarious positions, by inducing feelings of frustration and confusion, a strategist can get the other side to break down mentally before surrendering physically. In this way, victory can be had at a much lower cost. And the state that wins wars with few lives lost and resources squandered is the state that can thrive over greater periods of time. Certainly, most wars are not waged so rationally, but those campaigns in history stand out above the rest and serve as the ideal. War is not some separate realm divorced from the rest of society. It is an eminently human arena, full of the best and the worst of our nature. War also reflects trends in society, the evolution toward more unconventional, dirtier strategies, guerrilla warfare, terrorism. It mirrors a similar evolution in society where almost anything goes. The strategies that succeed in war, whether conventional or unconventional, are based on timeless psychology. The strategic ideal in war, being supremely rational and emotionally balanced, striving to win with minimum bloodshed and loss of resources, has infinite application and relevance to our daily battles. Inculcated with the values of our times, many will argue that organized war is inherently barbaric. a relic of man's violent past, and something to be overcome for good. To promote the arts of warfare in a social setting, they will say, is to stand in the way of progress and to encourage conflict and dissension. Isn't there enough of that in the world? This argument is very seductive, but not at all reasonable. There will always be those in society and in the world at large who are more aggressive than we are, who find ways to get what they want by hook or by crook. We must be vigilant and must know how to defend ourselves against such types. Civilized values are not furthered if we are forced to surrender to those who are crafty and strong. In fact, being pacifists in the face of such wolves is the source of endless tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Others will argue that war and strategy are primarily matters that concern men, particularly those who are aggressive or among the power elite. The study of war and strategy, they will say, is a masculine, elitist, and repressive pursuit, a way for power to perpetuate itself. Such an argument is dangerous nonsense. In the beginning, strategy indeed belonged to a select few, a general, his staff, the king, a handful of courtiers. Soldiers were not taught strategy, for that would not have helped them on the battlefield. Besides, it was unwise to arm one's soldiers with the kind of practical knowledge that could help them to organize a mutiny or rebellion. To maintain strategy and the arts of war as a branch of specialized knowledge is actually to play into the hands of the elites and repressive powers who like to divide and conquer. If strategy is the art of getting results, of putting ideas into practice, then it should be spread far and wide, particularly among those who have been traditionally kept ignorant of it, including women. Instead of resisting the pull of strategy and the virtues of rational warfare, or imagining that it is beneath you, it is far better to confront its necessity. Mastering the art will only make your life more peaceful and productive in the long run, for you will know how to play the game and win without violence. Ignoring it will lead to a life of endless confusion and defeat. The following are 6 fundamental ideals you should aim for in transforming yourself into a strategic warrior in daily life.
Listen to this, okay? Listen to this. This is like some powerful shit what he's about to tell you, right? Listen to this.
Look at things as they are, not as your emotions color them. In strategy, you must see your emotional responses to events as a kind of disease that must be remedied.
Damn shit. It's not a disease, nigga. Shit. Like, sucks, but it's not a disease, Robert. Oh my goodness.
Fear will make you overestimate the enemy and act too defensively. Anger and impatience will draw you into rash actions that will cut off your options. Overconfidence, particularly as a result of success, will make you go too far. Love and affection will blind you to the treacherous maneuvers of those apparently on your side. Even the subtlest gradations of these emotions can color the way you look at events. The only remedy is to be aware that the pull of emotion is inevitable, to notice it when it is happening and to compensate for it. When you have success, be extra wary. When you are angry, take no action. When you are fearful, know you are going to exaggerate the dangers you face. War demands the utmost in realism, seeing things as they are. The more you can limit or compensate for your emotional responses, the closer you will come to this ideal.
That's why I talk about observing your emotions, becoming present. Because if you don't control your emotions, you're fucked. You're fucked. You know, you're fucked. Having reign of your emotions, knowing how you react to events, is the highest form of power. You see, it's the highest form of power. Being able to control your emotions, because if you control your emotions, you control your life. That's why people use drugs, because it helps them control their emotions.
The closer you will come to this ideal. Judge people by their actions.
Listen to this shit, man. Listen to this shit.
The brilliance of warfare is that no amount of eloquence or talk can explain away a failure on the battlefield. A general has led his troops to defeat, lives have been wasted, and that is how history will judge him. You must strive to apply this ruthless standard in your daily life, judging people by the results of their actions, the deeds that can be seen and measured, the maneuvers they have used to gain power. What people say about themselves does not matter. People will say anything. Look at what they have done. Deeds do not lie. You must also apply this logic to yourself. In looking back at a defeat, you must identify the things you could have done differently. It is your own bad strategies, not the unfair opponent, that are to blame for your failures.
Real true. Real true. For example, look. Let me give you guys an example. He says, it is your bad strategy that is the cause of your failure, not your opponent. Let me give you guys. Let me give you guys an example. So like as you guys know, I'm on Tinder, right? I swipe right, swipe right. I swipe left a lot too, right? And where I am right now, I'm living in my uncle's place, right? And because I live in my uncle's place, I can't bring girls here. I just can't. I really can't. So it makes things so much more difficult. It makes shit so much more difficult, right? So a part of me right now could feel frustrated because it's not because half of the girls that I would have been with are reduced because of logistical problems. She may live in Brooklyn and I may live in Queens. We meet halfway, and when you meet halfway, it's a little bit difficult. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to if I lived in the city, it would be a lot more convenient. So I could say to Lexus, the reason why you're not getting those girls because of the situation. Fine, I could say that, but then again, another part of me says the reason why you're not getting them is because your game is not good enough yet. I could blame the problem, or I could focus on something that I could control and say it's because your game right now is pretty weak. It could get better. So what do? I focus on how I interact with them more. Yeah, sure, the situation sucks, but that's an excuse. That's an excuse, because my game could be so much better, right? So with this mentality, it enables me to actually find a need and actually work on it. So then I find ways to deal with that problem. I'll go to YouTube and I'll practice it, and I will improve. But if I blame the situation, then I'm never gonna improve. I'm gonna get bitter, and I'm just gonna say I'm gonna let the situation change so that I could get better at this. No, that's sure it makes sense, but it's counterproductive. Playing the victim is counterproductive, even if you have valid excuses to play the victim. You see? So let's keep listening.
You, not the unfair opponent. It is your own bad strategies, not the unfair opponent, that are to blame for your failures. You are responsible for the good and bad.
For example, rather than meeting a girl, you know what he says? It is your bad strategy that is to blame for your failure, not your unfair opponent. A simple strategy would be like this: me asking them, "Hey, let's go to a bar." It sounds creepy, right? But listen, let's just hear me out. I would say, let's go to a bar near your neighborhood. Let's go to a bar near your neighborhood. Let's say that 1/3 of the girls will say no to them. Will say no to that request. Guess what? Fine, we're not gonna hang out. But the 2/3 of the girls that say yes, now when we go on a date, now if things are on, there's a higher likelihood that we can just go back to her place, as opposed to taking the lazy route and saying let's meet halfway. I'd rather say let's meet near your place. You see what I'm saying? Let's meet not near your place. Let's meet near your neighborhood. If she says no to that, that's fine. I'm down with that. We don't have to, But if she says yes to that, then by simply saying that, it puts me in a better position. So you could be in a better position too, right? So see what I'm saying? So it's you could blame your situation, but strategy is all about positioning. Position yourself in the right situation before things happen. You see, for example, when I had my own place, I would invite girls. I would say, "Hey, let's go to a bar in my neighborhood. Let's go to a bar in my neighborhood. See what I'm saying? Right? And so then she would meet up with me, and I'll be like, all right, let's go. Oh fuck, I forgot my ID. We would go in my house. I would tell her, wait out here. Please wait out here. I wouldn't say come in. I'll tell her, wait out here. Or sometimes we will go in my house and get my ID, and we will immediately leave. I wouldn't even stay there, but because I'm letting her feel my apartment, she knows where I live. If I bring her back that same day, she was not gonna say I never been here before because she was already there when we were getting my ID. Just little simple shit. That's not even tactics, like fucking tactics. That's just maneuvers. Simple maneuvers. Do you see? Good strategy. Don't blame the unfair opponent, the fact that you don't have your own place. Blame your bad strategy. See what I'm saying? You feel me? Okay, let's keep listening.
Life. As a corollary to this, look at everything other people do as a strategic maneuver, an attempt to gain victory. People who accuse you of being unfair, for example, who try to make you feel guilty, who talk about justice and morality, are trying to gain an advantage on the chessboard. Depend on your own arms. Everything in life can be taken away from you, and generally will be at some point. Your wealth vanishes. The latest gadgetry suddenly becomes passé. Your allies desert you. But if your mind is armed with the art of war, there is no power that can take that away. In the middle of a crisis, your mind will find its way to the right solution. Having superior strategies at your fingertips will give your maneuvers irresistible force. As Sun Tzu says, being unconquerable lies with yourself. Worship Athena, not Ares. In the mythology of ancient Greece, the cleverest immortal of them all was the goddess Metis. To prevent her from outwitting and destroying him, Zeus married her, then swallowed her whole, hoping to incorporate her wisdom in the process. But Metis was pregnant with Zeus's child, the goddess Athena, who was subsequently born from his forehead. As befitting her lineage, she was blessed with the craftiness of Metis and the warrior mentality of Zeus. She was deemed by the Greeks to be the goddess of strategic warfare, her favorite mortal and acolyte being the crafty Odysseus. Ares was the god of war in its direct and brutal form. The Greeks despised Ares and worshipped Athena, who always fought with the utmost intelligence and subtlety. Your interest in war is not the violence, the brutality, the waste of lives and resources, but the rationality and pragmatism it forces on us, and the ideal of winning without bloodshed. The Ares figures of the world are actually quite stupid and easily misled. Using the wisdom of Athena, your goal is to turn the violence and aggression of such types against them, making their brutality the cause of their downfall. Like Athena, you are always one step ahead, making your moves more indirect. Your goal is to blend philosophy and war, wisdom and battle, into an unbeatable blend. Elevate yourself above the battlefield. In war, strategy is the
This is actually big. Listen to this part. I love this part.
art of commanding the entire military operation. Tactics, on the other hand, is the skill of forming up the army for battle itself and dealing with the immediate needs of the battlefield. Most of us in life are tacticians, not strategists. We become so enmeshed in the conflicts we face that we can think only of how to get what we want in the battle we are currently facing. To think strategically is difficult and unnatural. You may imagine you are being strategic, but in all likelihood, you are merely being tactical. To have the power that only strategy can bring, you must be able to elevate yourself above the battlefield, to focus on your long-term objectives, to craft an entire campaign, to get out of the reactive mode that so many battles in life lock you into. Keeping your overall goals in mind, it becomes much easier to decide when to fight and when to walk away. That makes the tactical decisions of daily life much simpler and more rational. Tactical people are heavy and stuck in the ground. Strategists are light on their feet and can see far and wide. Spiritualize your warfare. Every day you face battles.
Good shit, Joshua.
That is the reality for all creatures in their struggle to survive. But the greatest battle of all is with yourself. Your weaknesses, your emotions, your lack of resolution in seeing things through to the end. You must declare unceasing war on yourself. As a warrior in life, you welcome combat and conflict as ways to prove yourself, to better your skills, to gain courage, confidence, and experience. Instead of repressing your doubts and fears, you must face them down, do battle with them. You want more challenges, and you invite more war. You are forging the warrior's spirit, and only constant practice will lead you there. The 33 Strategies of War is a distillation of the timeless wisdom contained in the lessons and principles of warfare. The program is designed to arm you with practical knowledge that will give you endless options and advantages in dealing with the elusive warriors that attack you in daily battle. Each section of this program is a strategy aimed at solving a particular problem that you will often encounter. The strategies themselves are culled from the writings and practices of the greatest generals in history, as well as the greatest strategists. They range from the basic strategies of classical warfare to the dirty, unconventional strategies of modern times. The program is divided into 5 parts. Self-directed war, how to prepare your mind and spirit for battle. Organizational war, how to structure and motivate your army. Defensive war, offensive war, and unconventional, dirty war. Each section is illustrated with historical examples, not only from warfare itself, but from politics, culture, sports, business, showing the intimate connection.
Yo, that's hilarious. Yo, it says Surija wants a man to bring at least 50 heads before considering the date. Yo, that's funny as shit, man. That's funny as shit. That's funny as shit right there. That got me, man. That's funny as shit.
Between the military and the social. These strategies can be applied to struggles of every scale. Organized warfare, business battles, the politics of a group, even personal relationships.
Off with their heads! Where's the 50th head? Before I give thee heads, I need 50 heads.
Strategy is an art that requires not only a different way of thinking, but an entirely different approach to life itself. Too often there is a chasm between our ideas and knowledge on the one hand, and our actual experience on the other. We absorb trivia and information that takes up mental space, but gets us nowhere.
Sounds like Facebook to me. Listen to this shit.
Read information that takes up mental space on the other. We absorb trivia and information that takes up mental space, but gets us nowhere. We read books that divert us, but have little relevance to our daily lives. We have lofty ideas that we do not put into practice. We also have many rich experiences that we do not analyze enough.
Oh my god, that is so fucking true. Holy shit. Listen to that part again. My god, Robert Greene, what the fuck were you on when you came up with this?
Practice. We daily lives.
Listen.
We have lofty ideas that we do not put into practice.
Listen.
We also have many rich experiences that we do not analyze enough.
That's just fucking crazy right there, man. That's like leaving money on the table right there. You know, you could live a life. People say, "Oh my God, why are you so wise?" Okay, well, thank you for the compliment. Thank you so much for that compliment. Okay, thank you. But the reason why I'm wise, right? Even though I don't consider myself, but okay, let's just say, you know, wise, is because I'm always trying to learn from my fucking experiences. You know, like I'm always trying to learn from that. I'm always trying to find ways to apply the theory to the practical stuff, to life. You know what I'm saying? I'm always saying, what can I learn from this? You know, when it comes to dating, I'm always looking at, for example, if I'm out on a date, you know, I'm trying to find out what is she doing good, and how can what is she doing right now that's causing me to like her? and I'll remember what she's doing, and I'll teach it, and I get paid for that shit. You know? In other words, everything in life has rich experience. You gotta extrapolate that. You gotta be an alchemist. You gotta learn how to take, but because you're so enthralled in the experience by being the victim of your life, you're not able to have the presence of mind to step out of the battlefield and look at life from a wider perspective above the battlefield. You're able to look at the whole picture, and you're able to have a clearer perspective on what's important and what's not important. And as a result, you'll be able to learn from your experiences more because you're not allowing your experience to dictate your attention. You see? Anyways, keep listening.
Do not inspire us with ideas whose lessons we ignore. Strategy requires a constant contact between the two realms. It is practical knowledge of the highest form. Events in life mean nothing if you do not reflect on them in a deep way. And ideas from books are pointless if they have no application to life as you live it.
In other words, Robert Greene's like, read my book, bitches. Right? He's like saying, read my books, right?
In strategy, all of life is a game that you are playing. This game is exciting, but also requires deep and serious attention. The stakes are so high. What you know must translate into action, and action must translate into knowledge. In this way, strategy becomes a lifelong challenge and the source of constant pleasure in surmounting difficulties and solving problems.
That's very true. It has to be something pleasurable. You have to find pleasure in overcoming challenges. And in order for you to find pleasure in overcoming challenges, you have to overcome a small challenge. Find something that you don't think, find something that's challenging, but that you think you could do. And once you overcome that challenge, use that challenge as a reference, as a frame of reference, that whenever things go wrong, you go back to that moment when you said, I sucked at that, but I kept practicing and I got good at it. From there on, you could create a base of success. So yeah, sure, you may suck at something, but as soon as you realize that you suck, you go back to the past and you realize, you say, you know what? I remember when I sucked at this. Let me keep this going. With me, it was basketball. I sucked at basketball and I practiced and I got good at it. And then it was talking to women. I sucked at that shit and then I got good at that. You see? And so everything else in life, when anything got tough and difficult, those became my anchors of success. As soon as whenever I felt discouraged, I said to myself, Alexis, remember the learning process. You first suck at something. You then think that you then believe that you're not gonna make it. It's a normal process. Every single time I ever did something, I always doubted myself. It's the natural process. So whenever I go through that, I don't say these are negative things. These are just signposts that I'm walking in the right direction. And as a result, when challenges come, I'm able to see through those challenges, through the surface, and realize that they're not obstacles. Those are just signposts that says you're running in the right direction. Keep going. Don't look back. Ooh, perfect. That was perfect, right? That was like... right? Okay, I'm gonna finish it here. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to donate to my camera, I'm about to buy next week. Go to the link below. If you guys want one-on-one coaching, go to mindfulattraction.org/innergamecoaching. If you guys want to purchase my seminar, just to donate to the channel, go click on the link below. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this. It was really fun. I'm gonna do this a little bit more often because you know, it's just I just love this book and I listen to this book all the fucking time, right? And this is not everything that I learn. I don't just come up with it. I just walk on the shoulders of giants. I just get an information and I find a way to apply it to whatever problems you guys have. So I listen to these books and I find ways, how can I use this information and teach it? And that's how I learn. I'm not a genius. I just know how to fucking learn from my experiences through learning from them and shit. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, enjoy this video. Let me finish it right at 10, so it gets, right at 10, right? Ready, set, and go.